With the national championship just over a month away, today's the 6th. The semis are on May 9th, and then the championship will be on May 11th. The games over the next couple of weeks, of course, mean a lot more. And with this past week, with one of the biggest upsets and then a few other significant matchups, really reemphasize that we're really in the thick of it when it comes to the college men's volleyball season. So I just wanted to give my take on the current top five. Actually, the current top six, according to the AVCA rankings. And this is one of the few weeks where I agree with them. With the awesome matchups that we saw this week, there was potential for a lot of movement, and the fact that we only saw one team jump up a spot in Pepperdine, going up to 5, and UCI dropping down to 6. This is the most accurate that the top 5, top 6 has been. But yeah, starting off with Pepperdine hosting UCLA and upsetting them in 5. I personally didn't get to watch the first 2.5 sets live. I had to go back and rewatch them. But sets 4 and 5 were just some of the most peak volleyball that I've seen all season long. Pepperdine hosting the number 1 seed, UCLA having a historic season where they were at the time 20-0. It was really cool to finally see a team take down the team that I thought had the opportunity to go undefeated this season, at least all up until the postseason. But after Hawaii, I thought Pepperdine was the only other team that had the talent and the momentum to take down this UCLA team. I think UCLA is going to cruise to the rest of the MPSF heading into the postseason next month. But we got to give our flowers out to them boys because they did not back down. Even in night 2, it did end up being a pretty boring match. But that first night, particularly in the 5th, right? UCLA did their thing in the 4th set to gain a lot more momentum back and to really retake control of the game entering the first part of the 5th set. But Pepperdine stayed composed. And one thing I was talking to Joe, JT, and Volleyball about when watching night 2 is that even though Cole Harkey is the best player on that roster, it doesn't seem like they're forcing him every single play the way that we would expect. And what I mean by that is, yes, he is dominant and he is the best right side in the country, but it's not like he's getting every single ball and like they're forcing it into their system. And I think that's what makes them super dangerous because they don't have to rely on him to be hyper successful. And at the same time, when it matters the most, everyone knows who the ball is going to go to, and yet he still finds a way to terminate. So that makes Pepperdine super, super impressive, right? Jose Gomez had a really good game. Ryan Barnett is an absolute animal. Jacob Briley, arguably one of the best liberos in the country, right? Super slept on. And that's what it takes to beat a team like UCLA, to beat a team like Hawaii, which they've done this year, is you can't rely on just one player. And so that's one thing that I think a lot of the other teams this year should take from this Pepperdine team if they want to compete for a national championship, because you are going to have to go through either Hawaii, UCLA, or Long Beach State to make it to that championship on the 11th. It has to be all-around team performance. All weapons need to be firing, and that's what Pepperdine did. They made UCLA uncomfortable in reception and took advantage of opportunities when UCLA handed it to them. But like the number 1 team in the country is expected to do, they came out in night 2, and it just seemed like they figured it out. And that's what great teams do. That's that championship caliber mentality that this UCLA team has and has shown. I've seen a lot of comments this year where people are like, UCLA isn't battle tested, and I think that's completely ridiculous. They battled in that historic 40-point set against Ball State, that Long Beach match where they reverse swept them and then did their thing in night 2. What else? Dominating Hawaii. Although they didn't lose those games, and I think that's what people wanted to see overall, this UCLA team is battle tested. So that definitely shows the heart that they have, and what makes them dangerous is that they can adapt. There's no beating UCLA in night 2. They've shown that all year long. Once you give them a little bit of data to work with and allow Andrew Rowan to download that information, there's not much a lot of teams can do right now to slow that down. But Pepperdine also did show the blueprint, right? What you have to do to take down that juggernaut of a team. Slow down the middles, make them uncomfortable in serve receive, and then just take advantage of those opportunities in transition. But yeah, that's what I have for those matches. Pepperdine is not a team to sleep on the rest of the year, obviously. I think they are a true contender, and they show that by defeating the number 1 seed. Moving on to Hawaii versus UCI, and this is where this is where I thought that the rankings could have taken a really big turn. UCI showed it in night one that they have potential, they have the skill set, they have the talent to be a contender. It just sucks. Joe said it the best. Like, this UCI fan base must be going through it this year because all of their matches that they've lost have been lost in five. And I don't know what that says about them. They just can't get over the hump, it seems. But it also shows that they have the talent to compete, right? And if they can get over that hump the rest of the season or the postseason, if they make it, like, this UCI team can be super, super dangerous. And I know they got swept in night two to Hawaii. But night one just shows like they have what it takes. And I don't see a problem with them dropping to 6. I don't think it's that significant of a deal, to be honest, because of how well Pepperdine did. Of course, you have to reward them for taking down UCLA night one. But overall, UCI is a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous team, and they're super fun to watch. Jokanovic is an absolute freak of an athlete. Will Darcy, you could argue he's the second best right side of the country, right? I know, especially with the, I guess you could say, inconsistency that Christian Tetruski has showed these past couple weeks. A lot of conversations with Kainoa Wade, obviously, but with that whole debacle right now on that right side in Hawaii, Will Darcy is that guy too. I wouldn't have much to say if you had Will Darcy at the second best right side in the country, just below Koharki. Yeah, that team is firing right now, and I think that they have a shot. Right, all these teams I think have a shot in the top 6, in my opinion, on any given night. But yeah, moving on to the team that beat them is Hawaii, and they showed grit and they showed tenacity, and in night 2 they showed why they're the second best team in the country. And when they're firing, there's not much to do to slow them down. With me being partially biased just because of how nice a lot of those guys have been to me this season, it's cool to see them bounce back and in such dominant fashion. But a couple keys for them moving on the rest of the season is they got to be more consistent in the middle. I've been saying it over and over again this season. Their middles are so strong. I don't understand if it's just a schematic thing. It's definitely not their passing, because they're passing super well. And I understand when you have such dominant pins in Roar, Sakonoko, and Tetruski right now, it makes sense why they're feeding them so much. But also when you're so dependent on those pins, it makes it easier for other teams to create a blocking scheme to slow down one or two of those pins. Right, and that's kind of showed this season with Adrian Roar's production. I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me, but we haven't seen that vintage Adrian Roar performance this year, or at least as of recently, against these top teams. Louis been playing okay, and Tetruski did his thing, but it's been a lot of up and down, and that's why I think teams have been able to figure them out just a little bit, right? Pushing them to these 4 or 5 set thrillers and even upsetting them. Right, you saw Pepperdine do that. You saw Loyola Chicago. I think we can kind of get over that loss, to be honest. But UCLA did their thing and swept them at home. Like, there are a lot of holes in their game, and it's not because of the skill. I think a lot of it might be schematic, but that's just my opinion. I think the more they can get those middles activated earlier on and consistently, the better off they will be. And I know it sounds simple, right? But when you have a Travell Jordan, when you have a Justin Todd, they've shown their dominance in their consistency and their production, but a lot of the time it tapers off when you get to set 4 and set 5. I mean, Justin Todd put that set away in the 4th to force a 5th against UCI in that first night. And I know that's just one play in particular, but that's what this Hawaii team is going to need, similar to Pepperdine, where you just fire on all cylinders. Everybody needs to be involved to keep defenses on their toes. Moving on to the last team in USC, and man, I've been catching a lot of flack because I have not been talking about USC as much this year. I just don't find them interesting, and a lot of people are gonna say that I'm UCLA biased and hop off of UCLA hype train, blah blah blah. But when you compare UCLA's schedule and the way that it's constructed to USC's schedule, it's just more intriguing and it's more competitive. USC, they've won the games they're supposed to because they are a top 5 team, top 4 right now. But when you construct the schedule like that with your skill set, I understand, like you do what you got to do, right? And USC has done that, and I will give them their credit. But I can't say that it's impressive because even though they have gotten the job done and they have the talent to do so, to compete for a national championship, there's not a lot to talk about because that's what you're supposed to do. But like I've said in my previous videos too, I'm not saying this just for insurance in case they do end up winning the national championship. They have what it takes, right? They have the talent. They have the best outside in the country, arguably. They haven't played the teams, plain and simple, right? And so that's one of my gripes for this USC team is that they just haven't played the competition. They dropped the set to Stanford, in which you can compare to UCLA not dropping a set, although they were very close to. It's just stuff like that, right? And I don't want to pull up the schedule right now, but I think you guys can all agree that that's the reality of this USC situation is they are hyper talented and they have the roster to compete. You have Blanchette running an offense really, really well. You have one of the best middle duos in the country to hold it down in the middle. And you have the best outside. There's not much to say, which sucks because I want to root for this USC team. I do. I think they're really fun to watch, but for me, I can't justify, if I'm live streaming, I can't justify watching USC play Stanford over watching UCLA play Pepperdine or even UCI playing Hawaii. I just can't do it. That's been it all year long. They played UCI at the beginning of the year and they lost one of the matches, right? And I know, like I said, UCI is a contender, right? So maybe that's not the best example to use, but also like if you're USC and you want to claim dominance, you want to claim that you are a top 2, top 3 team, that's a game you have to win. I'm sure they're going to find a way to shut me up, and I hope they do just because I want this team to be competitive, and I think that they're going to be a lot of fun to watch in the postseason, but that's the reality of the situation at USC right now. But enough about me blabbing. I will continue to keep pumping out more of this content. This next week, there's not much going on in terms of the top 5. Everyone's kind of playing lower-end teams-ish. Besides USC playing BYU, that'll be a fun match to watch, and finally I'll be able to react to some USC content. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this type of content, just hearing me, just talk, I want to be as objective as possible. And it's kind of hard when my 2 favorite teams at the moment this season, UCLA and Hawaii, are just so dominant and are doing the things that they're doing. But I want to be objective, and I want to give USC their credit when it's due, and hopefully I can do that this season or this week. And same thing with Pepperdine. I hope I did a good job today just giving them their flowers, and what they did this week was incredible. Yeah, I want to continue to do more of these, especially as we start heading closer to May. There are no words right now to explain how excited I am to go watch these teams compete in Poly, and hopefully UCLA is there, hopefully Hawaii is there. Hopefully, I don't know which 4 teams are going to be there this season, but all I know is it's going to be one hell of a ride these next couple weeks to see who makes it to the postseason. But yeah, like I said, if you guys enjoy this content, I would really appreciate it if you guys drop a sub, drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Do I have this all wrong? I'm here to learn just as much as you guys are, and we're here to try to hit a couple more goals, especially as we get closer to May. I'm putting it out there right now. I want to hit 2K on Instagram. I want to hit 3K on TikTok before May 9th, and I think we can do it, but I can't do it without you guys. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.